Hey shady baby, I'm hot like the prodigal son.
Alright, so here we got a black and white reference image. This happens to be Clark Griswold from the movie Christmas Vacation. This is a good reference image because it has a wide range of values. It's got whites, light grays, dark grays, blacks, the whole range. It's a nice clear picture, a lot of detail. I've put a 1-inch grid on this reference image so that I can use the grid drawing technique to enlarge it. Put a 2-inch grid on white paper and completed my line drawing on the white paper. Once the line drawing is finished, we are going to transfer it to black paper by taking some lovely white chalk like that, chalkboard chalk, and we're going to rub it all over the back of our line drawing. And then we're going to blend it in with paper towel or tissue. We'll lay our black paper down and our line drawing on top of the black paper. And then you can tape it down, use a ballpoint pen, pencil, whatever you want to trace over the lines. And it should be transferred like that. Boom! Look at that. A nice line drawing that is transferred onto black paper. Since I'm using chalkboard chalk, the white chalk shouldn't smear too much. The lines should be pretty visible. So layer number 1. We're going to attempt to create skin tones using just a white piece of charcoal that is in lead form inside a pencil cylinder. So I'm going to put my reference image on the left here so that you can kind of see how I'm going to go about doing this. Make it nice and clear and focused for your viewing pleasure. So when I take a look at this, I'm looking at the darkest value of gray on Clark Griswold's face there. And that's the very first layer that I'm going to be putting down on my black paper. And when you apply this, you want to have a light pressure. You want to keep the application consistent. So I'm keeping my strokes close together. I want it to be somewhat smooth when I'm applying this on here. If your strokes get too far apart, when you go to blend this, it's going to be very liney. So again, you want to keep your strokes close together, even though this is the first layer. And I'm going to speed this video up here so that you are not bored to death. Again, a lot of times people don't take advantage of this step. They want to rush through it. It is a tedious, boring process, but if you have a nice, even base layer, that will give you a good starting point. You want to be careful not to blend in over top of your lines, your transferred lines. You still want to be able to see those. So for instance, under the nose area, you can see where I've kind of left the black areas of the nose lines. I don't want to cover those. I'm going to go ahead and put in some bright white here. This is the brightest white on my picture. So I'm going to put that in just so I can relate it to all the other values. So layer number 1, we're going to go ahead and blend this with a blending stump. And I'm using this stump here. When you blend, you want to blend in tight circles. That will ensure that the pigment is spread evenly, and it'll make for a smooth visual look to it. So you're blending in circles, not lines, but circles, circular. Feel the flow, feel the flow. I'm going to go ahead and speed this up. Again, you want to try to make sure that you're not losing a lot of those important lines, those lines that show where your values are, the lines that show the structure of the nose. You can kind of blend right next to them so that you can still see where they're at. I know that's kind of hard to see on this video, but I'm trying to be pretty precise and detailed with where I'm blending right now. So this is step 1, layer number 1. Layer number 2. Going to go back in here. Now I'm going to start to lighten areas up. So notice on the forehead area, you're going to see it's lighter. On the bridge of the nose, it's lighter. So I'm adding more chalk pastel or charcoal there to brighten it up. Areas where it's a darker gray, I'm going to leave that untouched. I'm not going to put any more white there. This is going to start to add some form to the face. Lighter values come forward and darker values tend to recede. Layer 2 blend. So I'm going to go ahead and take my blending stump and I'm going to blend those in. Again, I want to be somewhat precise with where I'm blending this. I'm not going to just go crazy and blend the whole thing. I'm kind of trying to blend the edges of where those shapes meet, where the lighter value and the darker value meet. I'm trying to blend on that line on where they are, so that the lighter value blends into the darker value. Layer number 3. Oh my gosh, more layers. Again, I'm brightening up the areas that are lighter. This kind of seems repetitive and somewhat tedious, but to get the look you want, you got to keep going back and adding more and more white and brightening the highlights. You're going to notice that the side of his nose, the right side of the nose, is starting to look darker because I'm adding brighter whites next to it. And now I'm going to go ahead and blend layer 3. Again, trying to be detailed. I'm not pressing very hard when I'm blending. I'm still blending in the circles. If you blend too hard, you press too hard, it's going to kill the tooth of the paper and you won't be able to put any more white on top of it. So somewhat light pressure here. Some more details in the eyes just with the blending stump, blending that out. You can do touch-ups with the Tough Stuff eraser. You're going to notice that in his eyelashes are dark black, and I want to make sure that those are crisp and clean, so I can take that skinny eraser and get in there and clean that up along with other areas. Going to go ahead and start layer number 4. Again, I'm going to really make the highlights pop, making them really bright. And this is going to kind of make it look like a real person here. And I'm going to go ahead and blend layer number 4. This is the last layer that I'm going to show you, but I just wanted to show you the process of how you build layers on top of each other to make the skin tones. Okay, I probably would have to go back in several more times, maybe 3 or 4 more layers to get this the way that I want it, but I'm hoping that you kind of get the point here on how to develop the skin tones, the highlights and shadows. So I'm going to show you some still images here. Just from beginning to end. So here we got line drawing transferred. We got our first layer. First layer is blended. It looks weird and crazy. Putting the second layer on, it's looking still weird and crazy. It's not a lot of contrast. Now the contrast is getting better. I've got a better range of values. Adding in more highlights and blending. Layering is the key to success.